Part 1, Parables of Mercy, Forgiveness, the Prodigal Son, Luke 15:11-32, The Father's heart is always open.
In a time long ago, in a land not so different from our own, there once was a father with two sons, bound together by blood and love. Their lives were intertwined, their destinies seemingly inseparable, both deeply loved. The father's heart overflowed with affection for his children, a love that knew no bounds. He cherished every moment spent with them, guiding them, nurturing them, and watching them grow. His home was safe, a sanctuary from the storms of the world. Within its walls, laughter echoed, stories were shared, and memories were made. It was a place of comfort, security, and unwavering support. His fields green, stretching as far as the eye could see, a testament to his hard work and dedication. The land provided for them, sustaining their lives and connecting them to the rhythms of nature. And his table always full. Each meal was a celebration of family, a time to gather, share stories, and nourish both body and soul. The abundance of food was a symbol of their prosperity, and the father's unwavering commitment to providing for his loved ones. The father's steady presence was the family's anchor, a source of strength and stability in a changing world. He was the rock upon which they built their lives, the guiding light that illuminated their path. But the younger son grew restless, his spirit yearning for something more than the familiar comforts of home. A seed of discontent had been planted in his heart, and it began to sprout, pushing him towards an unknown horizon. Dreaming of distant cities and freedom, he imagined a life of adventure, excitement, and boundless possibilities far removed from the predictable routines of his upbringing. The allure of the unknown was too strong to resist. Home began to feel like a cage. Its once comforting walls now seemed to confine him, stifling his dreams and ambitions. The warmth of family love felt like a chain, binding him to a life he no longer desired. Chores and guidance became burdens. The responsibilities that once seemed natural now felt like heavy weights, dragging him down and preventing him from pursuing his own path. He chafed under the weight of his father's expectations. He longed to control his own destiny, to chart his own course and make his own mistakes. The desire for autonomy burned within him, fueling his determination to break free from the constraints of his family and forge his own identity, free from his father's rules. He craved the freedom to make his own choices, to live life on his own terms, without the constant supervision and guidance of his father. The idea of independence was intoxicating. One day he asked his father, his voice trembling with a mixture of fear and determination, knowing that his request would likely cause pain. He had rehearsed the words in his mind countless times, but now, facing his father, they felt inadequate. "Give me my share of the inheritance." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. It was a request that challenged the very foundation of their family, a declaration of independence that threatened to shatter their bond. It was as if he said, "I want your gifts, not you." His words cut deep, revealing a painful truth about his desires. He valued the material possessions more than the relationship with his father, a sentiment that wounded the father's heart. The father, heartbroken, granted his request, his voice barely a whisper. He knew that denying his son's wish would only breed resentment and further damage their relationship. With a heavy heart, he made the difficult decision to let go. He divided his property, letting his son go without protest, though every fiber of his being screamed for him to stay. He signed the documents, relinquishing his claim to a portion of his wealth, hoping that it would bring his son the happiness he sought. The son packed his bags, his heart pounding with anticipation and a touch of guilt. He carefully folded his clothes, gathered his belongings, and prepared to embark on his new adventure, leaving behind the only life he had ever known. Eager for adventure, his eyes shining with the promise of a new beginning, he envisioned himself conquering the world, achieving great things, and proving his worth. The possibilities seemed endless, blind to the pain he left behind. He was so focused on his own desires that he failed to see the devastation he was causing his father, the emptiness he was leaving in his wake. His youthful exuberance blinded him to the consequences of his actions. The father watched him leave, his heart aching with a love that refused to let go, even as his son walked away. He stood at the doorway, a silent figure of sorrow, watching his son disappear down the road, sorrowful but loving enough to let go. He understood that true love sometimes requires sacrifice, the willingness to release those we hold dear, even when it breaks our hearts. He knew he had to allow his son to find his own way, even if it meant losing him for a time. He knew forced love isn't love at all. Love cannot be coerced or demanded. It must be freely given and freely received. To hold on too tightly is to suffocate the very thing we cherish. The road that took his son away, winding through the hills and valleys, symbolized the journey of life, with all its twists and turns, its triumphs and tribulations. It was a path fraught with uncertainty, but also filled with the potential for growth and discovery. Was the same road he hoped would bring him back. He clung to the hope that one day his son would return, wiser and more appreciative of the love he had left behind. He prayed that the road would lead him back home. The father's love was strong enough to release him, to trust that his son would eventually find his way back, even if it took years. It was a love that transcended distance and time, a love that remained steadfast and unwavering. Sometimes love means letting go, allowing those we care about to spread their wings and fly, even if it means they fly away from us. It's about trusting them to make their own choices and learn from their own experiences. And so, the son walked away, his silhouette growing smaller against the vast landscape, a symbol of his departure and the father's enduring love. He stepped into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chasing a future he thought he could build alone, he believed that happiness and fulfillment could be found in material wealth and worldly success, unaware of the true treasures he had left behind. The son, pockets full and heart racing, entered a distant city. No one knew his name or his father. He was free, or so he thought. He spent lavishly, surrounded by friends who loved his money more than him. Parties, gifts, and pleasures filled his days. He chased every thrill. The inheritance meant for his future vanished in fleeting moments. He never paused to consider tomorrow, ignoring the emptiness growing inside. The good life he imagined was just a mirage. Soon, the money ran out. His friends disappeared as quickly as his fortune. The son who left home rich was now poor and alone. He had traded lasting security for temporary excitement. The world valued only what he had, not who he was. The party was over. Freedom had become a new kind of prison. He was left with nothing but regret. As his last coin vanished, famine struck the land. Hunger gnawed at him. He, who'd never known want at home. The city that once welcomed him now turned cold and indifferent. His so-called friends were gone. Loneliness pressed in. Desperate, he found work feeding pigs, a humiliating job for a Jewish boy. Starving, he envied the pigs' food. No one offered him help or kindness. He was invisible, worthless, lost in a pigsty of his own making. The independence he craved had become isolation. Even the servants at home had more than he did now. He had reached rock bottom. The world he chased had left him empty. He was utterly alone. In the mud, he came to his senses. He remembered his father's house where even servants had bread to spare. Home was no longer a cage, but a sanctuary. He resolved to return, not as a son, but as a servant. He rehearsed his confession. "Father, I have sinned against heaven and you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son." Humility replaced pride. He was ready to accept the consequences. He set out for home, each step heavy with fear and hope. Would his father reject him? Would his brother turn him away? The journey back was harder than leaving, but hope, however faint, pulled him forward. He was done running from his past. He was ready to face the family he had hurt. He walked toward the only place he might find grace. The road was long, but he kept going. Sometimes the hardest journey is the one back home, but he walked, driven by hope. While the son wandered, the father waited. Every day he scanned the horizon, hoping for a glimpse of his child. Neighbors may have called him foolish, but love kept him watching. His hope was active, his heart always open. He wasn't waiting for an apology, just for his son. Then, one day, he saw a familiar figure far off. The father recognized him instantly, despite the rags and shame. Compassion, not anger, filled his heart. He saw the pain in his son's weary walk. He didn't wait for the son to reach the house. He didn't wait for a speech. The sight of his child was enough. The long vigil was over. The father's love overflowed, ready to be poured out. He ran to meet his son, unable to wait another moment. Love made him move. The father's heart broke for what his son had endured. But now, his son was coming home. The father did the unthinkable. He ran to his son. Dignity forgotten, love propelled him down the road. He embraced his son, filthy and broken, in a hug of restoration. "It doesn't matter where you've been," the embrace said. "You're home." The father kissed him again and again, kisses of forgiveness and joy. The son tried to confess, "Father, I have sinned. I'm no longer worthy." But the father cut him off. He wasn't interested in a servant. He wanted his son back. The relationship would not be renegotiated, but restored. Grace overwhelmed shame. The father's love was greater than the son's failure. No lecture, no conditions, just welcome. The son was home, not as a servant, but as a beloved child. The embrace absorbed all the son's shame. This was grace in action. The father's forgiveness was complete. Restoration began with a single embrace. The father called to his servants, "Quick! Bring the best robe, a ring, sandals!" The robe covered the son's shame with honor. The ring restored his status as a son, not a servant. Sandals marked him as family, not a slave. The father erased the son's self-imposed distance, then, "Bring the fattened calf, let's celebrate." This was no quiet reunion but a public feast. The whole community was invited to witness restoration. My son was dead and is alive again, he was lost and is found. The father's joy was resurrection joy. The celebration wasn't for the son's goodness but for the father's grace. The lost was found, the dead was alive. The party was for a homecoming, restoration was complete. The father's love turned shame into celebration. The son was fully restored. The house was filled with joy. The sounds of laughter and music filled the air, a symphony of joy echoing from within the house. But not everyone celebrated. While the prodigal son was welcomed back with open arms and a grand feast, a shadow of resentment lingered just outside the circle of merriment. The older brother, the one who had stayed, the one who had toiled tirelessly in the fields, the one who had always been loyal and hard-working, was now grappling with a storm of emotions. He had dedicated his life to his father's work, always putting duty before desire. As the celebratory music reached his ears, a wave of anger washed over him. It was a bitter pill to swallow, witnessing such extravagance for someone who, in his eyes, didn't deserve it. He refused to join the party, his heart heavy with a sense of injustice. The joyous occasion felt like a personal affront, a stark reminder of what he perceived as his own lack of recognition. He stood apart, feeling overlooked and slighted, as if his years of unwavering service had gone unnoticed and unappreciated. The celebration felt like a spotlight shining on his brother's return, casting a shadow over his own dedication. "I've served you all these years," he protested, his voice laced with frustration and a hint of betrayal. "You never threw me a party, not even a small one, to celebrate my hard work and loyalty." He saw his brother's return not as a cause for celebration, but as unfair, a reward for irresponsibility and recklessness. The father's forgiveness seemed to undermine his own years of sacrifice. He perceived his father's grace not as an act of love and compassion but as injustice, a distortion of what he believed was right and fair. He couldn't understand the unconditional nature of his father's love. His heart, hardened by resentment and a sense of entitlement, was as distant as his brother's had been during his years of wandering. He was present physically, but emotionally, he was miles away. The father, understanding his son's pain and confusion, came out to him too, leaving the celebration behind to address the deeper issue at hand. He approached his son with tenderness, pleading gently, hoping to break through the wall of resentment that had been erected. "My son," the father said, his voice filled with love and understanding, "you are always with me. Everything I have is yours. Your place has always been here, and always will be." The older brother had always lived in the father's blessing, enjoying the security and abundance of his father's love and provision. But despite all the blessings surrounding him, he missed the joy, the simple pleasure of celebrating life and love with his family. The father invited him to see through eyes of grace, to understand that love is not a reward for good behavior, but a gift freely given. "We had to celebrate," the father explained, "because your brother was dead and is alive, lost and is found. This is not about what he deserves, but about the joy of his return." The invitation to celebrate was, for both sons, a chance to bridge the gap and rediscover the bonds of family. Come inside, share the joy, and understand the depth of a love that knows no bounds. The father's love was for both, an unwavering commitment to his children, regardless of their choices or actions. It extended to the wayward and the dutiful, the lost and the found, embracing them both with equal measure. Grace is not about earning a place at the table, not about meticulously following the rules to gain favor. It's about belonging, about being welcomed into a family, a community, a love that accepts you as you are. The story ends not with a conclusion but with an open invitation, a question hanging in the air. Will you choose to step inside, to embrace the joy and to accept the unconditional love that awaits? This story, passed down through generations, is not just about a family long ago, a parable told in a distant time. It's more than just ink on a page or words whispered in the wind. It's a living narrative, a mirror reflecting our own journeys, our own struggles, and our own hopes. It's about you, it's about me, it's about us. It speaks to the universal human condition, the longing for belonging, the search for meaning, and the yearning for a place to call home. It's a story that resonates because it touches upon the very core of our being. Maybe, just maybe, you find yourself in the shoes of the younger son, lost and adrift, consumed by regret and shame, thinking you've wandered too far from grace, that the distance is too great to bridge. Perhaps you believe your mistakes have defined you, that redemption is beyond your reach. Or perhaps you identify with the older brother, diligently working, striving for approval, yet somehow missing the profound joy of unconditional grace, the freedom that comes from knowing you are loved, not for what you do, but for who you are. Are you caught in a cycle of striving, feeling resentful and unappreciated? But hear this, the Father is waiting, not with a condemning gaze or a list of grievances, but with boundless compassion, with open arms ready to embrace you just as you are. His heart aches for your return, longing to shower you with love and forgiveness. He's not waiting for you to meticulously fix yourself, to achieve some arbitrary standard of perfection, or to string together the perfect, eloquent apology. He knows your heart, he sees your struggles, and he loves you in spite of it all. He's simply waiting, patiently and expectantly, for you to turn your heart toward home, to acknowledge your need for connection, for love, for belonging, to take that first step in faith, trusting in his unwavering love. He sees you, right where you are, in the midst of your pain, your confusion, your doubt. He hasn't forgotten you, you are always on his mind. His grace is infinitely bigger, wider, and deeper than your mistakes, than any wrong you may have committed. His love is a boundless ocean, deeper and more profound than your deepest shame, capable of washing away all your guilt and pain. The invitation, warm and sincere, is the same for all. Regardless of your past, your present circumstances, or your perceived worthiness, come home. The door is always open, the table is lavishly set, prepared for a feast of reconciliation and joy. A robe of honor, signifying your restored dignity and worth. A ring of belonging, a symbol of your unbreakable connection to the family. A joyous celebration of your return. All are eagerly waiting to welcome you with open arms and overflowing hearts. You don't have to earn your way back. There are no prerequisites, no hoops to jump through. Just take the first step, however small or hesitant, in the direction of home. And know this with absolute certainty. The Father will run to meet you, his heart overflowing with joy at your return. You were lost in the darkness, but now, through his grace, you can be found, embraced by the light. You were once far away, separated by distance and despair, but now, you can come home, to a place of love, acceptance and belonging. Your story is not yet finished. The story is still being written, and you have the power to shape its ending. Will you, with an open heart and a hopeful spirit,
Please click like, share and subscribe to Parable Spark for more inspiring fables brought to life today. Thank you for watching the whole video.